Another powerful programming agent is athletics, particularly for young men in their high school or college year. Often they develop the basic paradigms that life is a big game, a zero sum game where some win and some lose. Winning is beating in the athletic arena. Another agent is law. We live in a litigious society. The first thing many people think about when they get into trouble is someone taking him to court, winning at someone else's expense. But defensive minds are neither creative nor cooperative. Certainly, we need law, or else society will deteriorate. It provides survival, but it doesn't create synergy. At best, it results in compromise. Law is based on an adversarial concept. The recent trend of encouraging lawyers and law schools to focus on peaceable negotiation, the technique of win win, and the use of private courts may not provide the ultimate solution, but it does reflect a growing awareness of the problem. Certainly, there is a place for win lose thinking in truly competitive and low trust situation, but most of life is not a competition. We don't have to live each day competition with our spouse, our children's, our co-workers, our neighbors, and our friends. Who's winning in our marriage is a ridiculous question. If both people aren't winning, both are losing. Most of life is an interdependent nor an independent reality. Most results you want depend on cooperation between you and others, and the win lose mentality is dysfunctional to the corporation. Lose win. Some people are programmed the other way: lose win. I lose, you win. Go ahead. Have you have your way with me. Step on me again. Everyone does. I am loser. I'm always been a loser. I'm peacemaker. I'll do anything to keep peace. Lose win is worse than win lose because it has no standard, no demands, no expectation, no vision. People who think lose win are usually quick to please or appease. They seek strength from popularity or acceptance. They have little courage to express their own feelings and convictions and easily intimidated by the ego strength of others. In negotiation, lose win is seen as capitulation, giving in or giving up. In leadership styles is permissiveness or indulgence. Lose win means being a nice guy even if nice guy finish last. Win lose people love lose win people because they can feed on them. They love their weaknesses, they take advantage of them. Such weaknesses complement their strength. But the problem is that lose when people bury a lot of things and unexpected feelings never die. They're buried alive and come forth in uglier ways. Psychopathic illness, particular of the respiratory nervous and circulatory system, often are the reincarnation of cumulative resentment, deep disappointment, and disillusion, rep- repressed by the lose win mentality, disproportionate, disproportionate range or anger, overreaction to minor provocation, and cynicism are other embodiments of suppressed emotion. People who are constantly repressing, not transcending feeling towards a higher meaning, find that it affects the quality of their self-esteem and eventually the quality of their relationship with others. Both win-lose and lose-win are weak position based in personal insecurities. In the short run, win lose will produce more result because it draws on the often considerable strength and talents of the pupil at the top. Lose win is weak and chaotic from the outside. Many executive managers and parents swing back and forth as if on a pendulum from win lose in consideration to lose win indulgence when they can't stand confusion and lack of structure, direction, expectation, and discipline any longer. They swing back to win lose until guilt undermines their resolve and drive them back to lose win until anger and frustration drive them back to win lose again. Lose lose. When two win lose people get together, that is when two determined, stubborn, ego invested individual interact. The result will be lose lose, both will lose, both will become vindictive and want to get back or get even blind to the fact that murder is suicide. The revenge is a two-edged sword. I know of a divorce in which the husband was directed by the judge to sell the asset and turn over half the proceed to his ex-wife. In compliance, he sold a car worth over $10,000 for 50 and gave 25 to his wife. And when the wife protested, the court clerk checked on the situation, discovered that the husband was proceeding in the same manner systematically through all of the assets. Some people become so centered on an enemy, so totally obsessed with the behavior of another person that they become blind to everything except their desire for the person to lose, even if it means losing themselves. Lose lose is the philosophy of adversarial conflict, the philosophy of war. Lose lose is always the philosophy of the highly dependent person without inner direction who is miserable and think everyone else should be too. If nobody ever wins, perhaps being a loser isn't too bad. Win. Another common alternative is simply to think win. People with the win mentality don't necessarily want someone else to lose. That's irrelevant. What matters is that they get what they want. When there is no sense of context or competition, win is probably the most common approach in everyday negotiation. A person with win mentality thinks in terms of securing his own ends and leaving it to others to secure their. Which option is best? Of these five philosophies discussed so far, win, 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 lose, lose, win, lose, lose, and win, which is the most effective? The answer is it depends. If you win a football game, that means the other team lose. If you work in a regional office that is miles away from another regional office and you don't have any functional relationship between the offices, you may want to compete in a win-lose situation to stimulate business. However, you would not want to set up a win-lose situation like the race to Bermuda. Context: without a company or in a situation where you need cooperation among people or group of people to achieve maximum success. If you value a relationship and the issues isn't really that important, you may want to go for lose win in some circumstance to generally affirm the other person. What I want what I want isn't as important to me as my relationship with you. Let's do it your way, this time. You might also go for lose win if you feel the expense of time and effort to achieve a win of any kind with would violate other higher values. Maybe it just isn't worth it. There are circumstances in which you would want to win and you wouldn't be highly concerned with the relationship of that win to other. If your child life were in danger, for example, you might be peri 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 concerned about other people and circumstances, but saving that life would be supremely important. The best choice then depends on reality. The challenge is to read that reality accurately and not to translate win, lose, or other scripting into every situation. Most situations, in fact, are parts of an interdependent reality, and then win win is really the only viable alternative of the five. Win lose is not the viable because although I appear to win in a confrontation with you, your feeling, your attitude towards me, and your relationship have been affected. If I am a supplier to your company, for example, and I win on my terms in a particular negotiation, I may get what I want now, but will you come to me again? My short term win will really be a long term lose if I don't get your repeat business. So an interdependent win lose is really lose lose in a long run. If we come up with a lose win, you may appear to get what you want for the moment, but how will that affect my attitude about working with you, about fulfilling the contract? I may not feel as anxious to please you. I may carry battle scar with me into any future negotiation. My attitude about you and your company may be spread as I associate with others in the industry, so we are into lose lose again. Lose lose obviously isn't viable in any context, and if I focus on my own win and don't even consider your point of view, there's no basis for any kind of productive relationship in the long run. If it isn't a win for both of us, we both lose. That's why win-win is only real alternative in independent realities. I work with a client once, the president of a large chain of retail stores, who said, Stephen, this win-win idea sounds good, but it is so idealistic. The thought realistic business world isn't like that. There's a win-lose everywhere. And if you are not out there playing the game, you just can't make it. All right, I said trying going for win-lose with your customer. Is that realistic? Well, no, he replied. Why not? I lose my customer, and then go for lose win. Give the store away. Is that realistic? No, no margin, no mission. As we consider the various alternative win-win appearance to be the only truly realistic approach, I guess that's true with customers, he admitted, but not with supplier. You are the customer of the supplier, I said. Why don't the same principle apply? Well, we recently renegotiated our lease agreement with the mall operations and owner. He said position as being position as being some soft and weak. They took us to the cleaners. Well, why did you go for lose win? I asked. We didn't. We went for win win. I thought you said they took you to the cleaner. They said they did. In other words, you lost. That's right. And they won. That's right. Why? So, what's the call? When he realized that what he had called win win was really lose win, he was shocked. And as we examine the long term impact of the lose win, the suppressed feeling, the trampled values, the resentment that seated under the surface of the relationship, we agreed that it was really a lose for both parties in the end. If this man had had a real win win attitude, he would have stayed longer in the communication process, listen to the mall owner more than express his point of view with more courage. He would have continued in the win win spirit until a solution was reached and they both felt good about it. And that solution, that third alternative, would have been synergistic, probably something neither of them had thought of on his own. Win win or no deal. If these individuals had not come up with a synergistic solution, one that was agreeable to both. They could have gone for an even higher expression of win win, win win, or no deal. No deal basically means that if we can't find a solution that would benefit us both, we agree to disagree. Agreeable, no deal, no expectation have been created, no performance contract established. I don't hire you or we don't take on a particular assignment together because it's obvious that our values or our goals are going in opposite direction. It is so much better to realize this upfront instead of downstream when expectation have been created and both parties have been disillusioned. When you have when you have no deal as an option in your mind, you feel liberated because you have no need to manipulate people to push your own agenda, to drive for what you want. You can be open, you can really try to understand the deeper issues underlying the position. With no deal as an option, you can honestly say, I only want to go for win win. I want to win and I want you to win. I wouldn't want to get my way and have you not feel good about it because downstream it would eventually surface and create a withdrawal. On the other hand, I don't think you would feel good if you got your way and I gave in. So let's work for a win win. Let's really hammer it out. And if we can't find it, then let's agree that we won't make a deal at all. It would be better not to deal than to live with the decision that wasn't right for us both. Then maybe another time we might be able to get together. Sometime after learning the concept of win win or no deal, the president of a small computer software company shared with me the following experience. We had developed new software which we sold on a 5 years contract to a particular bank. The bank president was excited about it, but his people weren't really behind the decision. About a month later, the bank changed president. The new president came to me and said, I am uncomfortable with these software conversions. I have a mess on my hands. My people are all saying that they can't go through this, and I really feel I just can't push it at this point in time. My own company was in deep financial trouble. I knew I had every legal right to enforce the contract, but I had become convinced of the value of the principles of win win. So I told him, we have a contract. Your bank has secure our product and our services to convert you to this program, but we understand that you are not happy about it. So what we like to do is give you back the contract, give you back your deposit, and if you are ever looking for a software solution in the future, come back and see us. I literally walked away from a $84,000 contract. It was close to financial suicide, but I felt that in the long run, if the principle were true, it would come back and pay dividend. There, 3 months later, the new president called me. I'm now going to make changes in my date processing, he said, and I want to do business with you. He signed a contract for $240,000. Anything less than win win in an interdependent reality is a poor second best. That will have impact in the long term relationship. The cause of the impact needs to be carefully considered. If you can't reach a true win-win, you are very often better off to go for no deal. Win-win or no deal provides tremendous emotional freedom in the family relationship. If family members can't agree on a video that everyone will enjoy, they can simply decide to do something else. No deal, rather than having some enjoy the evening at the expense of other. I have a friend whose family has been involved in singing together for several years. When they were young, she arranged the music, made the costume, accomplished them on the piano, and directed the performance. As the children grew older, their taste in music begins to change and they wanted to have more say in what they perform and what they wore. They become less responsive to direction because she had years of experience in performing herself and felt closer to the needs of the older people at the rest homes where they planned to perform. She didn't feel that many of the ideas they were suggesting would be appropriate at the same time. However, she recognized their need to express themselves and to be part of the decision making process. So she set up a win win or no deal. She told them she wanted to arrive at an arrangement that everyone felt good about, or they would simply find other way to enjoy their talents. As a result, everyone felt free to express his or her feeling and ideas as they work to set up a win win agreement, knowing that whether or not they could agree, there would be no emotional strings. The win win or no deal approach is most realistic at the beginning of a business relationship of enterprises. In a continuing business relationship, no deal may not be a viable option, which can create serious problem, especially for family business or business that are begin initially on the basis of friendship. In an effort to preserve the relation, people sometimes go on for years making one compromise after another, thinking win lose or lose win, even while talking win-win. This creates serious problems for the pupil and for the business, particularly if the competition operates on win-win and synergy. Without no deal, many such business simply destroyed and either fail or have to be turned over to professional manager. Experience shows that it is often better in setting up a family business or business between friends to acknowledge the possibility of no deal downstream and to establish some kind of buy sale agreement so that the business can prosper without permanently damaging the relationship. Of course, there are some relationship where no deal is not viable. I wouldn't abandon my child or my spouse and go for no deal. It would be better if necessary to go for compromise, a low form of win-win, but in many cases it is possible to go into negotiation with a full win-win or no deal attitude. And the freedom in the attitude is incredible. Five dimensions of win win. Think win win in the habit of interpersonal leadership. It involves the exercise of each of the unique human down endowment, self awareness, imagination, conscience, and independent will in our relationship with others. It involves mutual learning, mutual influence, and mutual benefits. It takes great courage as well as consideration to create these mutual benefits, particularly if we are interacting with other who are deeply scripted in win loss. That is why this habit involves principles of interpersonal leadership. Effective interpersonal leadership requires the vision, the proactive initiative, and security, guidance, wisdom, and power that comes from the principle centered personal leadership. The principle of win-win is fundamental to success in all our interaction. It bears five interdependent dimensions of life. It begins with characters and moves towards relationships out of which flow agreement. It is nurtured in an environment where structure and systems are based on win-win, and it involves process we cannot achieve win-win ends with the win-lose or lose-win means. The following diagram shows how these five dimensions relate to each other. Now let's consider each of the five dimensions in turn. Character. Character is the foundation of win-win and everything else built on the foundation. There are three character traits essential to the win-win paradigms. Integrity. We are already defined integrity as the value we place on ourselves. Habit 1, 2, and 3 help us develop and maintain integrity as we clearly identify our values and proactively organize and execute around those values on a daily basis. We develop self awareness and independent will by making and keeping meaningful promises and commitment. There's no way to go for a win in our own life if we don't even know in a deep sense what constitutes a win, what is in fact harmonious with our innermost values, and if we can't make and keep commitment to ourselves as well as to others, our commitments become meaningless. We know it, other knows it, they sense duplicity and become guarded. There's no foundation of trust, and win-win becomes an ineffective superficial technique. Integrity, the cornerstones in the foundation. Maturity. Maturity is the balance between courage and consideration. If a person can express his feeling and conviction with courage balanced with consideration for the feeling and conviction of another person, he is mature, particularly if the issue is very important to both parties. If you examine many of the psychological tests used for hiring, promoting, and training purposes, you will find that they are designed to evaluate this kind of maturity, whether it's called an ego strength, empathy, balance, the self confidence, respect for the other, balance, the concern for people, concern for tasks, balance. I'm okay, you're okay in transactional analysis language or 9.1 or 1.9 or 5.5 or 9.9 in management grade language. The quality sought for is the balance of what I call courage and consideration. Respect for this quality is deeply ingrained in the theory of human interaction, management, and leadership. It is a deep embodiment of the PPC balance. While courage may focus on getting the golden egg, considering deals with the long term welfare of the other stakeholder. The basic task of leadership is to increase the standard of living and the quality of life for all stakeholders. Many people think in dichotomies, in ether or terms. They think if you are nice, you are not tough. But win win is nice and tough. It's twice as tough as win lose. To go for win win, you not only have to be nice, you have to be courageous. You not only have to be empathic, you have to be confident. You not only have to be considerate and sensitive, you have to be brave to do that. Achieve that balance between courage and consideration is the essence of real maturity and is the fundamental of win-win. If I am high on courage and low on consideration, how will I think? Will win lose, I'll be strong and ego bound. I'll have the courage of my conviction, but I won't be very considerate of our to compensate for my lack of internal maturity and emotional strength. I might borrow strength from my position and power or from my credentials, my seniority, and my affliction. If I am high on consideration and low on courage, I'll think lose when I'll be so considerate of your conviction and desire that I won't have the courage to express and actualize my own. High courage and consideration are both essential to win-win. It's a balance that is the mark of the real maturity. If I have it, I can listen. I can empathetically understand, but I can also courageously confront. Abundance mentality. The third character trait essential to win-win is the abundance mentality, the paradigm that there is plenty out there for everybody.